Welcome. Welcome to the Accelerate session on how to rapidly scale your digital marketing. It's part of the wider Bristol Technology Festival. If you didn't know, this is an individual event. There are 42 other events happening across the week. So we're very pleased to be involved and very happy that all of you have joined us this morning. I'm Jack Thompson, I'm Commercial Director at Accelerate, and I'll be sort of comparing today. I'm not actually presenting, but I'll be here kind of keeping everything on check. First of all, obviously the classic housekeeping stuff, fire exits straight back out the main exit. If there happens to be a fire between us and the main exit, there's one around there. Toilets around the corner up the stairs or down the far end next to the cafe. Come and sit down, mate, if you want to take a seat. Yeah, no worries. Please have your phones on silent and Wi-Fi password's down here. I'm going to read it out, but it's on here if you want to get onto the Wi-Fi. I'll leave it on the chair. Cool. So, if you don't know who Accelerate are, we are an SEO and analytics agency based here in Bristol. We're headed up by Phil Pearce and Nick Brown. They'll be giving a presentation this morning, and hopefully it will leave you with lots of useful tips and tricks and things to take it back to your businesses. It's meant to be a kind of useful workshop session. The guys will share links to various resources in the presentation, so feel free to obviously take notes, but there will be the documents sent afterwards with links to all the resources and stuff that we share. The presentation should take us for about 45 minutes-ish. Hopefully have time for questions, but we'll see how we're going. We'll then have a short break, just 5 minutes, to have a caffeine top-up and snacks and that sort of stuff, and then we'll have a panel debate after that. Accelerate have been focusing on SaaS companies for a while now, built up a huge bank of knowledge, so obviously that's what we're looking to share today. Yeah, obviously check our website, please comment to us afterwards, but yeah, that's the plan. So can I have a quick show of hands, who here actually works for a SaaS company? Cool, okay. How many of you consider yourselves to be a startup? Okay, and then sort of scale up? Cool, and how many would consider yourself to be like enterprise level? Cool, okay. And how many of you don't believe in labels and just think you're a business? Okay. Well, well, we've worked with SaaS companies across every life stage, every label. Welcome, welcome. Find a seat. We're a bit busy, but there are some slots at the back there, I think. Or yeah, cool. Hopefully there'll be something in the presentation for all of you. As I said, we'll have a short break after the first presentation, and then we're very excited to welcome our three panelists. We have Nick Shaw, General Manager at Brightpearl, Vinnie Morgan, CEO at BookingLive, and Andy Jackson, Entrepreneur Acceleration Manager at the Natwest Accelerator. Yes. The goal of the debate is to extract as much value from them as physically possible within half an hour. We'll also include a short Q&A at the end, allowing for time, because we want to allow a bit of networking at the end. The session closes at 12, so we've got a couple of hours. Of course, we want your undivided attention throughout the presentation, but please do share stuff on social media as we go. The official festival hashtag is BTF2019. It's BTF2019, so that will be part of the wider Bristol Tech Festival. We tend to be LinkedIn people rather than Twitter within Accelerate, but you can find us on Twitter. We're our Accelerate Agent, so that's our name without the CY at the end. Obviously on LinkedIn you can find us easy enough. And finally, do check out all the other amazing events as part of the Bristol Tech Festival. That's bristoltechfest.org, and there's a listing of all the stuff that's going on across the rest of the week. So that's my opening bit. Over to Nick and Phil for their presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Hi, I'm Nick from Accelerate. I'm one of the co-founders. What I'm going to talk to you about is more the SEO part of accelerating your digital marketing. These are some of the clients that we've worked with and we currently work with. What I'm going to cover today is how to create an optimized, fast and secure website. Customer personas and customer interviews, content marketing strategy from keyword selection through to awesome content creation, a couple of Accelerate case studies, so cost of SEO and Google Analytics tools, and how to consistently get guest posts from sites like HubSpot, boost your brand, traffic, search results, and get more customers. And finally, then Phil's going to do a talk on how to use analytics to scale your SaaS. Okay, first things first, fundamentals. It's really important to create a fast and secure website. As we look at this chart, 60% of websites currently are on WordPress. The next nearest biggest competitor is Joomla, with about 6.7%. WordPress does dominate the market because it's very easy to use, low development costs. We do tend to avoid using a custom CMS where you get tied into a development company. 3 reasons why site speed is really important for your website. So it reduces your bounce rate, it increases conversions on your website, and it's a major Google ranking factor. So this is one of the tools we use. It's called GT Metrics. Highly recommend it, but also Page Speed Insights by Google. On GT Metrics, you can actually have a look on every asset that's actually loading on your web page, and you can see which ones are causing the most difficulty or causing the longest time in page speed. Okay, how to optimize your images. There's quite a few online tools out there. One's called Pixlr. There's loads out there. And you can use, if you're using WordPress, image resizing plugins. And the 2 best formats are one called WebP and one called JPEGs. Add a CDN to your website. This is really important. It allows for fast loading anywhere in the world. So ones we'd recommend are Cloudflare and CloudFront. Inline and defer CSS. This is a little bit more complicated, but if you're using WordPress, you can actually, I've got a plugin called WP Rocket which will do this for you. What this means is you're just loading what you first see when you load a website. You're not loading the rest of that web page. So it makes it much faster. And as I said, if you've got WordPress, there's a plugin called WP Rocket which does it for you. Prefetch DNS. This is when you load your assets on the website much faster. So you load scripts when you're moving internally within the website. So prefetching just doesn't actually load it when you first arrive on a website, but when you navigate internally on a website, it actually loads much faster. Again, WP Rocket for WordPress does this for you. This is much more complicated, but it has a major effect on page rate. It's adding your assets on a subdomain. It paralyzes the load time, so it loads sometimes 2, sometimes 3 times faster. For example, you could have like a 10 megabyte web page with videos, loads of assets on it, and it will load that web page, whereas it will normally take about 10 seconds. It can do it in about 1 to 2 seconds. So it's a lot more difficult, but it's well worth it. Use Google Tag Manager. So a lot of the time people have scripts on their website, tracking codes, conversion pixels. So it's the best idea is to keep them all in one place. So keep them on Tag Manager and then take them off when you don't use them, because they do cost a lot in page speed and they can really slow down your site. And always test whenever you install another code or tracking pixel on your website. That's really important. And see what effect it has and see how it affects your conversions. Okay. Another one, has anyone ever seen a warning like this when your site's been hacked? Or a site's been hacked, basically. This is the warning on Google Webmaster Tools. And this is what happens to your site when it's showing on Chrome. So a lot of the time this happens on sites like WordPress because they're quite vulnerable to attack because they're such a big CMS. So it's always really important that your website is really secure. So this is kind of one of the tools we recommend. It's called SecureNet. It's a software that allows you to, it basically checks your website a minimum of every 12 hours. You can do more advanced plans which check it much faster. If you get it also has a firewall on it which protects you from hackers. So it's really important, otherwise, if a visa goes on your site and they see that, they're not going to be, well, they're not going to go any further, basically. Okay, now we're going to cover content marketing. Okay, this is from the Content Marketing Institute. It's a bit of a long one. Content marketing is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience, and ultimately to drive profitable customer action. So quite a lot there. Well, we say in English, content marketing is when you create useful resources for your ideal customers. You then market this content through social media, email, and other sites to increase the number of people who see the content. Okay, who in the audience has interviewed their current customers? Show of hands. Great. Who in the audience has interviewed customers after they have left them? A few less. Who in the audience has interviewed prospects that never became customers? That's a fair few people, that's good. Okay, why do customer interviews? So obviously really important, so identify topics your ideal customer would be interested in, discover the most popular sites for a guest posting campaign, understanding your customer's preferred tone of voice, learn what kind of content they like to consume, podcasts, articles, videos, find out why someone signed up to your service, what was the reason they decided to leave or not sign up, what are the customer pain points you are looking to address, and what is the decision-making and buying process. So really important to do customer interviews. How to use customer personas. So you can move beyond customer personas and actually identify specific individuals. For enterprise SaaS, you want to connect with people who fit with your customer persona. For self-service SaaS, use online advertising to target people who fit your customer persona. And then you can even hold events like the Bristol Tech Festival and then target your ideal customers and partner demographics. Invite them via LinkedIn. Okay, so customer personas and interviews. You want to create content that informs and educates the customer. It's about educating your buyers on why and how to use the tool so you can increase retention and long-term value. It's great to have a free trial, but they don't sign up or only sign up for a month or two, and it's not a great result. Okay. Great marketers focus on flywheel, so it's about learning a process and then repeating it until you fine-tune it and get it better and better. So this is the content marketing flywheel. So what we're going to focus on today is primarily keyword research, publishing content, and earning links and amplification. So these are the hardest ones to do. So keyword tools. So finding the ideal keywords. The one I strongly recommend is Keywords Everywhere. This is a great tool. It used to be free, but they just started charging, and it's something like $10 US for, 200,000 keywords. So you get a lot for your money. There's other ones like Google Keyword Planner tool. There's a paid tool called Ahrefs, free 7-day trial. Moz, 30-day trial, and SEMrush, another 30-day trial. When you've found your keywords, you should really check out the SERPs. So check out what's ranking at the moment. Are they all authority sites? So if they are authority sites, you're less likely to rank in the top 10. So you're less likely to actually get any traffic from it. What is the length of the article? What is the search intent? So if there's informational keyword, like what is advantages, disadvantages, and you're trying to sell a product and it's not going to rank. Look at the backlink profile of who's ranking at the moment and how difficult it's going to be for you to rank for that position. Writing content. There's quite a bit of content on here. So check the keyword intent. Is it a blog post, a list post, or a sales page? Imitate the format. Review the content from the competition. your content needs to be much better and longer. Make sure the content reflects your customer personas, demographics and interests. Break up the article with a sub-headline every 300 words or so, and use tables, images, graphs, videos and graphics, and write high quality content. Use a writer and an editor, that's kind of key. So you don't just use a writer, you also use an editor to check the quality of the content, and then check it yourself. How to optimize metadata. So it's about standing out. These are two clients of ours. There is Ring Central there, which is UK's #1 business VoIP provider, top quality from $7.99. And there's BookingLive, #1 UK online booking system. So they stand out, and people are more likely to click through. So you should always write for your user, but not for Google. But saying that, use keywords in your URL. Insert the keyword in the headline. Use keyword and subheadlines. Every 3 to 5 paragraphs, add the keyword and include it in your metadata. Guest posting. So, this is probably one of the most important parts of this presentation. Benefits of guest posting on authority sites. So, writing a guest post on authority sites is useful for branding. For example, you could say as seen on. You can use it in presentations. Content created by high authority sites is more likely to rank in the search engines, so you like to get referral traffic. But you also have access to their email list, their social media following, so they promote it on their social media as well. You also get, content created for high authority blogs, referral traffic. Okay, you also get high authority do follow backlinks, which increase the authority of your website. Create business opportunities for funding and partnering. Increase organic traffic to target pages on your website, and ability to refer clients and fellow guest posters, so digital networking. Okay, I'm giving 2 examples of campaigns we run on our own website. As for confidentiality reasons, I don't want to disclose any client details. But these are example runs, and we do the same for our clients. So we have the definitive guide to the average cost of SEO in the UK, and we have the top 39 Google Analytics tools recommended by experts. Cost of SEO campaign. So since publication, we've built 25 relevant backlinks to the article from sites like HubSpot, Mailshake, My News Desk, and SEMrush. PPC traffic value of this article now is £2,500 a month. This is an article which we did for HubSpot, how a growing SMB avoids common customer service pitfalls. In here, we've got a link in the article about halfway down, which is the value of SEO is so relative. What a lot of people do is they create great content for other authority blogs, but they actually don't link to a page they want to rank. So it's always important to link to a page you want to rank. So you've got to vary the anchor text as well, and use Google search impressions to work out what to use for anchor text. Anchor text is what the link, the text in the link, basically. And that's from HubSpot links to this article here. So, having a guest post on a site like HubSpot, it actually helped with our branding. We could use as featured on HubSpot, increases our awareness and expertise. Referral traffic. They promoted this on their email list, which is quite massive. Also with their social media. So, and actually drove quite a bit of referral traffic to our website. High authority do follow backlinks. It's a very, very high authority website, HubSpot. It increased the authority of our website, so it increased it by 2 moz points, if anyone knows moz here. And it created business opportunities for funding and partnering. Someone wanted to invest into our agency, and they wanted to partner with us as well, just from this article. It increased the organic traffic to the actual web page on our website, so about 20 to 30%. And now we're in a position we're able to refer clients and fellow guest posters to write for HubSpot. The next one is a bit of an unusual one, so it's a different strategy we took. This is our Google Analytics tools. What we're actually doing at the moment, we've actually just built it and it just completed it a couple of days ago. So a few months ago we started marketing this tool. So we started to roll traffic to we created a post which was all about Google Analytics tools because obviously we just launched this new Google Analytics health check tool. So the first thing we did, we looked at what keywords are going to be the most relevant. So, for example, we did some research and we worked out that actually for a Google Analytics tool, the best keyword to actually rank for would be Google Analytics tools. Makes sense? So what we did, we thought of a few ideas. This was quite a different idea we had. Phil has basically established following a marketers interested in Google Analytics. These comprise of industry experts and people who are also interested and involved in Google Analytics. So we posted on Phil's LinkedIn that he was planning to write a roundup of the best Google Analytics tools on the web. We asked for suggestions and input from his audience on LinkedIn. Needless to say, it got a lot of interaction. So I think we had 254 likes, 138 comments, and nearly 29,000 views on this one LinkedIn post. Because of the way it's written, also, we hit our key demographics as well, and it got 10 reshares. Then we then wrote the article based on people's suggestions, and we came up with the top 39 Google Analytics tools. And we tagged people that liked the post in the previous list. The post was promoted in various LinkedIn marketing groups, and it was reshared 24 times. So all in all, it generated about 2,000 unique visitors to our website just from this LinkedIn post. As a follow-up to this article, we stated that Phil was interested in exploring new guest post opportunities. I love writing about technical SEO and Google Analytics, especially GTM. I am looking to do guest post blogging. If anyone has any opportunities, then please let me know. This created a number of guest post opportunities, including sites like Conversion Excel and SpyFu and MailChimp. Phil was contacted directly by MailChimp, and we have since written 15 articles for them on Google Search Console and Google Analytics, which are due to go live next month, which is great for branding authority and very powerful backlinks to accelerate our clients and friends. So, this is the strategy of what we employed on LinkedIn. So ask for help when writing an article on LinkedIn. Get people's input and advice. Use the comments with the actual article. Write the article. Post and mention the people that inputted on the article. And first of all, ask for something. Ask for a guest post. Ask for speaking opportunities. Have an ask after you've done this. Okay, this is a quick guest post and link building guide. How to choose sites to guest post on. How to connect with the right people. For some, emailing won't be enough. And then you can take the LinkedIn approach. So 5 key guest posting stats. So there's a tool called Moz, I think most people would know what that is. Domain authority of at least 50. Monthly traffic, I'd say at least 5,000 in the actual country you're trying to rank for. Trust flow of at least 20 plus. This is a majestic ranking. which shows you how trustworthy a domain is. So it's a very good tool. I recommend it. But then check relevancy. Relevancy is really important. So, for example, if you're a website about accounting software and you got a link from a vegan site, it's not going to do very. It's actually going to more likely to get penalised for that link. And obviously, always do a website check. Make sure that website is a good quality website by just manually looking at it. Okay, to find relevant and high authority sites, we use a call to Ahref, and we use their Content Explorer option. We filter by authority, so make sure it's a powerful domain. We then change it to 1 page per domain, otherwise it will just, if they've got 10 pages, it will show you 10 pages on here. So filter them down. Filter by language, make sure it's English, if you're writing in English. And filter by first published, is it in the last year the article was published. Now this brought us to a total of, we're doing an example here of accounting software. So this brought us to 2,118 domains. Then obviously you want to use a call to Majestic. Majestic shows relevancy. So for accounting software, I did some research and looked at what was #1 on Google for accounting software, and it was 0. So it's, if you want to rank for that keyword, have to look at what niches they are. So you should be down to about 400 to 700 domains now, and so you've really filtered it down from 2,000 to 400 to 700. Now you can have to find the email addresses of the people in the company you need to connect with. So you can use tools like Hunter and Clearbit Connect. And you need to make sure you actually email the most relevant person in the company. Hunter's very useful for this. For example, we're using VentureBeat there, and it's brought the name of Jason Wilson, who is the managing editor. Sometimes it's not enough, so you want to search by company name on Google, job title, and then LinkedIn to find that actual person. Then it's time to begin outreaching to these people. So use outreach software. It will just save you a lot of time by doing it manually. Manually will take a very long time to manually email form 100 domains. Create a first template, so a first email to go out. I will show you an example later. Create a follow-up email if that person doesn't get back to you within a week. If no response, email the next person in that company. And reject people that ask for money. Okay, so here's a roundup of what I've been going through. Use Ahrefs to find your initial list. Look at authority and traffic. Check relevancy and trust on Majestic. Find emails using Hunter. Use outreach software. Examples, the ones we recommend: BuzzStream, Ninja Outreach, or kind of the Rolls Royce, which is Pitchbox. But obviously it's got a Rolls Royce price as well. Okay, give an example here of a common outreach email. This is one that has been very successful, and we generally get about a 30 to 40% return rate on this one. Hi, my name is, from your website, what we're about. While searching for, I was grateful to discover the article. Quite glad I found it as a bookmark as a future resource to our blog. I'm reaching out to see, is there an opportunity to contribute to your website? I'm currently working on an article, and I believe it a tremendous fit for your audience. And it carries on. And then if they don't reply within a week, you would do a follow-up email. Okay, overview of this campaign. Use cold outreach by email. We get an average of 40% response rate. We turn down any respondent that asks for a paid guest post due to this being against Google guidelines and deemed as black hat. Approximately 5 to 10% will be interested in working with you. Okay, there'll be certain target sites you actually want to work with, you want to get an opportunity with. So sometimes email just won't be enough, and it's best to connect with them on LinkedIn. So you can do obviously a quick company search and look for the editor or writers within that company that you want to work with. So send a, for example, send a blank LinkedIn invite, introduce yourself, and say how much you like their work. Suggest collaborating on content, and agree and start working together. Okay, and finally, you always got to work out ideas. So you've got to pitch them ideas if you want to write content for them. The best way to do this is look at their blog, look at their competitors' blog, look for gaps. That's key. Look for gaps in their content. Offer them what they're missing. So, what we've covered in this presentation so far: how to create and optimize fast and secure websites, customer personas and conduct customer interviews, content marketing strategy from keyword selection to content creation, how consistently get guest posts from sites like HubSpot and boost your brand network traffic and get more customers. And now it's time for the one and only Mr. Phil Pearce, just back from visiting Google at Mountain View, advising them on improving Google Analytics.
Cool, thanks Vinnie. Alright, on this one, well, I've gone for a slightly different angle on this, so you'll see what's going to happen on here next. Just a quick bit about myself. So I've been doing this stuff in terms of analytics and SEO for 20 years or so a lot of experience. One thing which I thought we hadn't really covered was a little bit more on the strategic level, and I just wanted to mention something which people within the room may or may not be aware of within the kind of the SaaS kind of industry. There is the series called Lean Startup. How many of you here are aware of that? Most of you. How many of you have heard of Lean Analytics within the Lean Startup series? Only one or two. Okay, so this is good. The people within this room, if you're in SaaS, you should know about this because there's some really good stuff in this. The premise of this book was actually how do you build your startup and sell it within 3 years, not 10 years? And it was the work from Year One Labs in Toronto. And it was compressing all of that knowledge from a bunch of kind of companies in America to find those kind of one single metric that mattered, that allowed them to build and grow a lot faster and sell quicker. So I've highlighted the grid that they use within Lean Analytics, and there's two specific kind of areas I just want to kind of highlight on here. So you see it says SaaS in the middle here, and also mobile app. The premise of this is that based off the size of the company that you're at, so for instance, we were sort of asked kind of what, how many people kind of work at your company, that would affect which metric you should pick in terms of what you should really be focusing on to kind of supercharge your business, get more customers, sell more stuff, and grow quicker, faster, better. So the way this works is once you've nailed that single metric, you then move to the next stage. So you would start doing kind of interviews and surveys and picking up the phone to say, you know, is this business a good idea? Are people going to buy it if I create this idea? And if there's kind of a bit of empathy and traction, then you'd move to the next stage, which would be, are people actually going to get the wallet out and buy it? The reason why this is important is if you focus on that one single metric, it allows you to really kind of focus minds and align, and that's also extremely important when you're dealing with marketing, where you want to get more customers quicker, faster, and also outperform or outmaneuver your competition. And once you've also done that and you've hit a certain number of sales or target, you then move to the next stage for the next kind of metric for your business at that specific time, with the end goal being kind of sort of sell or IPO at the bottom. So this is a very useful kind of framework for literally kind of focusing minds and working out what you should be doing, and this is based off kind of shared learnings for other kind of SaaS-based companies or mobile apps. So then, there's a whole set of information that explains this in more detail in a set of on Amazon on Alistair Crowell's kind of book. But don't buy the book. I'll save you £30 on it. Instead, search on YouTube for the video for Lean Analytics, and there's an excellent video. It is 1 hour long, but if you compress one book into an hour, that's a really good a good thing. There's a huge amount of really useful information in that video, and if you're not aware of it already, definitely go for that and watch it. Additionally to that, I did a tribute to Alistair Crowell's work, so I looked at what he'd done and I applied my own kind of learnings from my own experience to that. I didn't know that the method that he was using was called Lean Analytics, but when I looked at his work, it's like, there's an alignment here. I'll just tell you one story about that. I worked for a startup called Compare and Save, who are based near London. They actually were kind of a little bit like a two-sided marketplace, as in they were a comparison site that sold credit cards as a table, a bit like a money supermarket. And they had a list of which credit cards people should buy or outclick to, and these were affiliate links, and they got paid, let's say, up to £50 per sale, and they also purchased traffic on Google AdWords, on cost per click. So it was a perfect model in the sense that the more traffic that they bought and the more volume that they sent to the banks, the more they earned for their kind of cost to acquire. So originally when they first started, they were only earning, let's say, £10 per new credit card sign up, but by the end they were up to like £50 per sign up. So the amount that they were making was increasing per lead, and the cost that they were paying to acquire those new customers from Google AdWords was going down as well, because Google AdWords was rewarding them for the volume that they were sending. Google AdWords, the way that the AdWords algorithm works is that it's largely based off a thing called click-through rate, which is the number of impressions that people see your ads versus the number of people click on your ad. So it's called CTR. And Google kind of work a bit like sort of kind of Asda or Walmart, where it's kind of all about volume. They want you to kind of search and then click, and the more clicks, they basically reward you by making the cost you pay less than everyone else. So there's perfect kind of model where the CPCs were going down and the cost they're making was going up. So the perfect metric for them at that stage was actually CTR, because that perfectly aligned to that business. That business also sold for £30 million about 5 years ago, so it definitely worked for them. So there's a lot of kind of truth to these metrics. So I'm kind of going to just shift a little bit more into some little kind of tactical tips. Lean Analytics was about trying to kind of use data to outmaneuver or outperform by being a bit clever or strategic about stuff. You can also use some of those same kind of methodologies for kind of growth hacking or growth marketing using some free tools. So we'll mention a couple of examples using Google Analytics and Hotjar, and I'll go through these in a second. So one I'm going to mention, so this is actually a software site, and they're using a free tool called Hotjar. Hotjar is something that records the mouse movements going through the website. It is free up to a certain point, and it's very, very good for analysis of user journeys and forms going through a website. It's especially useful for detecting if there's conversion issues with people filling in a form and they're getting stuck on stuff. What's even more useful though, if you've got a relatively expensive kind of SaaS product, so this one here, there are three kind of prices, one being the most expensive, which is about £8,000, which is quite high for a sort of product. This one being software rather than SaaS, but it's very similar. The cool thing about Hotjar is knowing that you've got these really high value users, but the problem is they may not necessarily buy there and then, they might abandon. So it would be really, this is a kind of, there's still waiting for data from this, but I'm going to throw this idea out there, isn't it? Something you can take away and use today, which is to break out your basket levels into sizes. So your really high value enterprise level customers, your medium value kind of baskets, and then your low value baskets. By breaking out those customer types, you can then replay those sessions from Hotjar to say, okay, tell me everyone that was in the high value basket up here that was about to spend £8,000, but they got stuck as they're going through the cart. They're like, something either confused them or distracted them, or it didn't work. Like, you've just got kind of £8,000 on the table, but they didn't get to the final checkout. They didn't get past the line. So those ones, you really, really want to replay those sessions. You want to know what went wrong. So this method was and allowed them to do that. This does require using the tag feature within Hotjar, which is where you kind of add a little label to a user as they're going through it. And you do need to have a business version of Hotjar to be able to use that. But an extremely useful kind of marketing hack for SaaS and lead gen based businesses. The other cool thing about this was for users that had already purchased, those got kind of taken out of the bucket because you don't need to replay them, they've already done what you want them to do. So, it also allowed you to kind of persona those users, and so you know that they're in enterprise based off the size of the basket, and also push that data into Google Analytics as a custom dimension for further analysis or remarketing, etc. So a cool little kind of tip or hack, which I'll sort of give you away. And this one is for lead gen, which given for SaaS there's going to be a lot of kind of forms on the website. So this is actually, the details of this are online. So this is a thing called microfunnels. Within Google Analytics, there is, you can actually set Google Analytics to send a page view whenever someone traverses between forms on a site. So let's say you've got first name, surname, last name, etc., or email address. Google Analytics out of the box will show you they've landed on that page, let's say a demo sign-up page, but it may not necessarily tell you which field they've left or got stuck on. So this method allows you to see the individual field, or the last one that they interacted with, and also if they're kind of keeping going back to that same field. So it highlights if there's a problem with a specific field or question on a website. The great thing about this method is, in the same way that Google Analytics is free, if you enable this, you'll have a free way of seeing that information forever, which is pretty cool. And it's relatively easy to set up as long as you've got something like Google Tag Manager on the website. It's helpful to have the names of form fields also exposed on there. This also tells you a kind of more granular level or breakdown of your funnel. So instead of your kind of macro or individual, they viewed the form and then they went to the thank you page, it breaks it out into these mini steps or micro funnel steps. And you can see that in Google Analytics, so you see it in the form kind of flow report. And you'd then also be able to see that leakage and also the rate of leakage. So if people keep refreshing a particular field, you'll see that in that. This was very good for a site where they had a problem with kind of a postage kind of lookup, because people were selecting, entering a postcode, clicking search, and it was either not finding it or forcing them to manually enter your address, on its own. And also one of these websites was actually asking for like a national insurance number, which also people were like scratching their head, where is that, why do I need that? So it highlighted some optional fields which were causing confusion, preventing users purchasing or filling in a form, and thus prevented them making money. So some extremely useful kind of ways of finding problems which would prevent you from scaling. Bear in mind, we're talking about a kind of leaky bucket problem here, as the more marketing you push at this, if you've got kind of holes in the bucket, you're just not going to have an efficient funnel. So it's really important to nail these issues in order to maximise your efficiency and effectiveness from that marketing spend. Here's a breakdown of this kind of micro funnel, where you can see some of these fields and how it's going to set up. Cool. And you can also see the flow back and forth in Google Analytics with those fields. So I'm going to give another little takeaway. Now this one is more of a sort of thing you can do at a computer, but wouldn't it be cool if you could walk away today with 20 free dashboards for Google Analytics for a SaaS-based business? You can. Here's the link, but don't open that link. It's not going to work. So the reason it's not going to work is that there's a second thing you've got to do, and Bill means take a picture. So within Google Analytics, you can bulk import dashboards. So you literally enter a link, it'll pop up with 20 dashboards and say, okay, add this to this profile, and bang, you'll find them straight away in there. However, in order for it to work properly, you have to tell Google Analytics which is your main goal. Like, is it goal number 1, or is it goal number 10, or goal number 20? So whatever is your kind of your thank you page goal or your form submit goal, you have to basically configure this screen here to say, this is my primary goal, and then that link will work. So you do this step first, which is to add a calculated goal. Then you can bang add 20 dashboards for SaaS-based businesses into Google Analytics. And that's a freebie that once you've done it, it's forever in there. And here's some of the ones you'd see in there. There's some real-time ones as well as some kind of marketing ones, SEO, PPC, etc. I'm going to also mention this other kind of tip, which is in Google Analytics, if someone said to you, where should I look if I want to either save money or make more money? If someone comes to you with that question, there's about 10 places or 10 reports that you can look at which will tell you or give you an indication as to things that will help you with those two aims and or automating of those two things. So here's my kind of top 10 list. Now this would be best and worst landing pages using a feature called weighted bounce rate, best and worst pages by revenue contribution, internal site search, broken pages, channels that are not performing or overperforming, AdWords data which has got a good return on ad spend or inverse, and then a going up level AdWords campaign. And also a good one which is relatively new, which is conversion probability, which is, let's say your SaaS site has a 10% kind of rate of landing and submitting a form. If you just looked at that 10%, you'd be missing the 90% that have expressed an interest in filling out the form, but not necessarily filled it in. So conversion probability looks at a broader kind of range and says, okay, these people, they got to the step before the form, they started interacting, they've watched lots of the videos, they've got really good engagement, low bounce rate, they're pretty close to converting. There's probably a high probability of them actually converting, but they're just not an actual conversion. So this is really, really helpful for highlighting good quality traffic. It's just they didn't convert there and then. You can use that to remarket them, recapture them, or find out why they didn't kind of get through the last hurdle. And also intelligent alerts to see if there's a straight kind of line, what's changed and why it's changed. That's a bit like kind of finding hidden gems, or if you don't know where to look, that will also tell you where to look. So with these 10 reports, you can actually jump to all of these 10 really, really quickly. I'll tell you a little tip or a hack to do it. So this is a marketing hack for SaaS. You'll get a copy of these slides afterwards. You can take a picture of it if you want. It says bit.ly/GA-report-list2. And that will take you to a text file on Dropbox, which is basically a text file which has 10 links to each of those 10 reports. There is one extra thing you need to do though to get it to work, is with this text file, it will ask you to say replace the word replace me with your Google Analytics account ID. Now, I know what you're thinking, your Google Analytics account ID, that's the UA-number that you see on the website. It's not that one. It's actually the number you see in the top of reports when you've got the browser open, and it's like 32 characters or so. If you enter that in this text file, you'll then have these 10 links or 10 reports. So tomorrow or on Monday, if your boss says to you, we need an insight report which is going to tell us where do we need to look to find out how we can make more money or save money or marketing spend, is 10 places to look which will tell you it. So there's hopefully some good stuff you'll find within that. And fifth one I put in here, which is about GTM. Google Tag Manager is a tool for kind of tracking the websites, but you can template it. So it's a bit like kind of Lego. So if you say, okay, our website is on WordPress, Drupal or Magento, and we've got Brightpearl or YouTube or whatever kind of video sort of software we're using, and we've got these other kind of aspects. You can basically say, okay, here's my sort of tech stack, and then there's solutions for each of those bits of the tech stack. So the great thing about it is that you can then go bang, build a tracking solution with all of those elements, and you'll then have a much more enriched kind of data collection sort of piece for your website. A very good example of that, there's a site called GTM Bot. I think it's gtmbot.io, which walks you through building that template or building that recipe. However, and you would get a bunch of extra things like scroll tracking, video tracking, etc. Things that you wouldn't necessarily see, but you can capture. Having kind of better visibility just means then you're going to be able to make better decisions, you're going to be able to remarket to people, recapture them, and understand their user problems as they traverse through the website or try and convert. In addition to the GTM bot examples, there's some other ones which are in a library here which you'll get access to. So for instance, if the website is on iOS or Android or in Firebase, then you can automatically kind of plug in some Lego and it's going to preset it up for you. Or if it's one of these types of sites, then it will plug in a bunch of other stuff that similar types of sites have used that you probably may or may not may also can need. So it's great for just rapidly scaling and rapidly setting up an account, because you can literally run in kind of Lego building mode. And there's a whole framework for speeding up that setup and data collection kind of piece. The end goal would really be to get to being able to do A/B testing, remarketing, and understanding users much better, and using that data to improve your marketing performance. So the templates for that you'll get later. So that's most of what I was going to cover in these sets of slides. We have sort of focused on some sort of technical tips here, because and some of this you can kind of go away with and sort of have a play with later. As I said, everyone will get a copy of the slides. We've probably got any time for questions?
You get 5 minutes for questions.
Okay. So I don't know, should we both stand up? Okay. Have you got any questions for either myself or Nick?
So, how do you suggest basically analytics across the website and app? So, sort of that cross domain and tracking. And would you recommend using a separate analytics tool for your SaaS product that's going to give you that detail, or do you use Google? Because we run into some problems at the minute where we have sampling issues with the quantity of users we have, which gives some inaccurate metrics. So what would be your recommendations? Specific tool or carry on using GA?
Thanks. So there's a new, well, first, are they logged in or not logged in? Excellent. Okay, so it's kind of a bit like a Facebook, as in everyone's got to authenticate and log in. In that situation, you can use the user ID sessionizing feature, which means normally on standard Google Analytics, when you land on a website, if it doesn't know who you are, it just randomly creates a number and a cookie and stores it in the browser. If you're logged in, you can say, no, don't use that random number, use the number that I'm giving you. So your 007, your 008, etc. And as you log back in, it says, oh, hi, again, 007. So that's a much, much better way of recording logged in users. Additionally, Google have rolled out App plus Web recently, which is an even better way of doing it, because it has, if a logged in is not present, it then falls back to a cookie. So switch to App plus Web if you haven't already. Regarding sampling, I had this on a kind of quite a large betting website, which was doing kind of frequency updates of every 30 seconds or so. You can do client-side sampling, so you say only send 10% of traffic or 10% of page views, and then times it by 10 on the other side. So there are ways around it, so you can hack the free tool to your will. I haven't yet found anything that I haven't been able to solve regarding both sampling or kind of user ID tracking. The only problem is more when they're not logged in and you get issues with kind of Safari, for instance. But yeah, there are ways of doing it.
So a couple more questions. Anyone else? Question? No? All right. Oh, cool. Sorry. Lady there. Get that.
How would you recommend someone that's trying to reach quite a large international audience, but with quite a niche product? You know, going around SEO, I've had some success in the UK, but it's quite difficult to reach that niche market out of the UK.
So you're trying to reach a market globally. You obviously need to see who your customers again, look at the customer personas, do customer interviews, then obviously find out where those people hang out digitally. What online publications do they use? Do they use review sites? What do they actually do? And so then you obviously want to have your website or products actually on that website. Yeah, and also that will help with you ranking for the keywords.
What about language?
Language, it depends obviously. You obviously need to make sure you have content which is locally served. You need to make sure the content is in that language of that country. You can obviously, there's quite a few things you can do. Best is to use one top-level domain, .com. Then obviously change that to .fr, UK, and so on and so forth. So obviously create it that language of that country, and then obviously reach sites of that country.
AVG has a very good example in terms of optimal setup of an international site for SEO. So they have both top-level domain of avg.com, and then it's folderized by like language. Yeah, and it also has hreflangs and everything. So that's a cool little best practice example.
Yeah, can I just ask Nick? You were talking about in the metadata for the content, you know, and how it's really good to have things like number one. You know, what's the downside of that if you're not, you know, how are you making those claims, and is there any kind of authenticity checks or anything like that?
That's a good question.
On AdWords, you need to support any same. So if you make a statement about either yourself or competitors, you have to have one click away from the landing page. You have to have a third party that supports it. But for organic, there's no rules that apply in that sense. The only ones would be with review stars, where you had to be genuine. So if you got 5 out of 5 stars, you have to have actual reviews that support it. It's
Metadata, it's quite a lot you can do with it, but it's about standing out. So you can use capitals, which you can't use in AdWords as well. So you can really stand out. If you've got a free trial, then you can put that in your metadata as well, in capitals. And click here is quite useful as well, with arrows.
Okay, thanks guys. Look, we're around for the rest. We're here till 12, and obviously for follow up afterwards. Thanks guys. Lots of deep knowledge bombs there, so hope you can all keep up. We're going to have a short break now, 5 minutes, a bit of a caffeine top up, toilet break, whatever you need to do. So please be back in your support for London, the NHS, Green King, Brewers, and Microsoft. So you're selling software to software companies. That's good. Vinnie started out as a developer, I believe, has been an MD of a digital agency, and now CEO of BookingLive, as I said. And then at the end, we've got Andy Jackson. Andy is the Entrepreneur Acceleration Manager at the Natwest Accelerator here in Bristol. He runs the team there. They provide support for startups and scale-ups across a number of programs. So if you're looking for sort of business support, if you're a startup scale-up, talk to Andy. They've got some great programs they're running at Natwest. Andy has a very varied career, including time in the British Army, and then most recently working as a consultant, coach and trainer for business owners and teams. He also had a stint helping to clear mines in Kosovo and Somaliland, which is very impressive. Interested to hear of any transferable skills there. So let's start. I've got a question for you, Nick. I'll sit down in a second. Nick, you've seen some stuff that Accelerator are doing. I was interested to know what you would consider the most interesting digital marketing trends in 2019 and how you plan to take advantage of them.
So if you look at some of the digital marketing trends, the one that people keep screaming is hyper-personalization and making sure what the stuff you're doing online is relevant to the people looking at it. And what we're trying to do more and more is make sure that anything we serve to people, whether it be PPC ads, whether it be anything, is relevant to their company, and making sure that they fit within our ideal customer profile. Because one of the challenges is we get a lot of kind of leads that are not our ideal customers. So what we're investing in now is understanding. We've spent a lot of time working out what our ideal customer profile is. For instance, in the US, we know it's 10,000 customers. And then every time we're doing PPC, we're making sure that those adverts are served to people who are from those companies at different times, and therefore we're trying to just reduce, it's marginal gains, trying to reduce the noise we're getting and just improve that slightly. And that's what we're trying to do as much of as possible, because and we run, as many of you probably do, we run through marketing qualified leads to sales qualified leads to sales accepted opportunity, the standard kind of stuff. And just if we can increase that in all the different areas, it really makes a difference in terms of the number of sales we will make. And that's what we're trying to do. Because there's obviously loads of exciting things, but they're not as relevant to us in a very, because there was a lady over there who said she's in a very niche market. Let me tell you, being in a retail market, which is in a specific area of retail, is very niche. And therefore, you've got to be very hyper-personalised in what you're doing.
So you talked about those different leads. I think maybe for some of the people who are working in smaller companies, can you just go run through this very quickly? What
Yeah,
those different types of leads?
so what we do is we work at that we have what's called a marketing qualified lead, which will generally be something like someone's filled out a form on our website saying they would like a demo or something like that. We don't immediately give them a demo, and we will get one of our BDR team to ring them up and qualify that out. And then from there, that will move to a sales qualified lead. And we may do a demo, we may not do a demo, but what we'll have is something called a discovery call. So we'll go through 2 stages before they even have a demo from us. And from that discovery call, if we're comfortable that we think there's an opportunity there, there's budget, and we run a sales process called Medic. If you look it up on the internet, it's a very good way of kind of qualifying through things to make sure before we accept it. And then it's called a sales accepted opportunity. That's when it goes into what's called our forecast, and we would expect
and privacy, where it's just embedded and we don't have to think of it as a concern anymore. Once we get through that, personalization, thinking about VR, AI, if you're coming in temporaries today and having all those ads relevant to you, and the next person having those ads relevant to you, that's going to be quite exciting. So yeah, definitely where we're at today, video content, all relevant. But once we get through data, I think personalization is really going to take off.
You've got sort of 3 different audiences, effectively, 3 quite different audiences as well: public sector, enterprise, SME. So you've got effectively 3 different types of campaigns running, personalising for those people. How do you treat those different audiences differently with your sort of digital marketing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our CMO heads it up. We've got Jason and the marketing team here as well. They're doing a wonderful job, but they are very, very different. If you think of SMEs, they want it there and then. They want it on demand. They don't want to wait for a personalised demo. And just described that, and that's perfectly true for enterprise clients. Certainly for public sector clients, the buy-in cycle is a lot slower. Public sector will want to do their due diligence a lot more. They want to see your financials, your accreditations, your PPE processes. SMEs, they don't look at that. They don't want to know that. They want to see the product. Is it user friendly? Can I use it now? Can I generate revenue now? Who else is using it? How many competitors using it? So it's a very, very different buy-in cycle, and we need to automate that and get them on board as quick as possible. And as Phil was talking about, that sales cycle funnel is critical, and using the tools that they described today really does help with the SME journey. But yeah, public sector and enterprise very, very different, and public sector in particular, if anybody here is thinking about selling into it, it's a time-consuming task. You're not going to do it today. They will do their research, and it does take you a long time to, everything I just mentioned, to get in place. So very, very different cycle.
Thank you. Andy?
I'm not technically minded in whatever shape or form, so the majority of Nick and Phil's presentation just went not there, it was like there for me. So my perspective is very much around who is your customer, and it was great that actually one of the things that Nick put up first was how many people have interviewed customers, how many people have talked to customers, how many people have interviewed them, when they were potential customers. And that would be my take on this. These tactics are absolutely valid if you know your customer well enough to apply them meaningfully. So my question to you would be, when's the last time that you interviewed your customers? When's the last time that you actually talked to each of those individual niches and established really clearly that you are addressing the problem that you think that they've got? Because the customer does change, the market changes, and everything that you need to be delivering will therefore need to change. You'll only know that if you're constantly getting that feedback from the customer.
Basically the question I was going to ask you, so happy days. Because you're working with people predominantly who are just starting out, so they have an idea, or they might have built a very early iteration of their idea, they're starting to take that to market. So is there any other advice you find yourself giving on a regular basis of them, when they are thinking about their audience, when they are thinking about building out marketing campaigns or building out marketing strategy in the first place? Any other sort of tips or tricks or tools that you use, any kind of advice you feel yourself giving a lot?
So just to be clear, yes, we deal with startups, but quite a lot of the businesses that we deal with on a more regular basis are well established, and a number of the businesses in the Accelerator at the moment are multi-million-pound businesses, so these are very scale-up orientated. Without exception, the conversations that we do have with them are, who's your customer, when's the last time you did customer discovery, and then have you got a marketing strategy? What is it that you're actually seeking to achieve? What is your long-term strategy, vision, goal for the business, and where it is that you're ultimately going? And often the person who's leading the business, or the person that we're talking to, isn't necessarily the right person to develop that strategy. So we're saying, right, who do you know? Who can you speak to? Who's got the geek ability that will really drive this or put it in place in the right kind of way so that you know that you're delivering the right kind of marketing to the right kind of market. So that's definitely around who is it that you know, or who's delivering that strategy, who's developing that strategy, so it's going to be meaningful.
Vinnie, just going back to your point about the different audiences, obviously, you know the process is different for each of them. You do have a trial sort of demo, as a thing. How do you handle the handover between a sort of digital engagement, if you like, and then a real life conversation? What's the kind of process from someone signed up to a demo on your site? How do you take those leads and turn them into sort of real, if they need to be real conversations?
Yeah, so we follow exactly the same process that you described there. You go through your sales qualifying, etc. But again, if we focus on the 3 different ones, so SME, they want it on demand, they want it there and then. So yes, they can sign up, they can view videos, they can it needs to be short, simple videos. These guys want to, in reality, be trying 5 or 6 different options before they commit. So you need one that's really good at UX. You need to remove any potential barriers. Our sign-up form is limited. The email gets sent straight away through a third-party distributor. Send, great company, by the way. So one click, it logs them in automatically. It doesn't just verify the account, it logs them in. So we need to, one of the key KPIs we set the dev team when we were building this product. It only launched in March this year, by the way, and it's been, in terms of its organic growth, has been fantastic. So we have worked with Nick and Phil and the team on that strategy. It's now in nearly 50 countries worldwide, 500 customers. So in less than 12 months, it's doing really well. And it was so important to get that sign-up conversion, and actually for customers to complete the whole cycle, so be taking revenue within 5 minutes of initial sign-up. That was a key metric for them to follow. And the one drawback is that they do have a Stripe account. So assuming they have a Stripe account, you can actually do that. And so getting that automation as slick as possible, and just giving them so many added value tools as automated as possible is critical. Public sector, it is all about the demo, it is all about case studies. They speak to it. There's 414 local authorities in the UK. They all speak to each other. If you have one bad egg, everybody will know about it. So you've got to be on top of your game. It's more than just the sales cycle at that point. For us, we've recently changed our business model. We've removed our setup fee, which might sound crazy. Our average setup fee before was around 25k, and similar kind of model to Brightpearl. We've now got rid of that. And we just pay. In terms of our sales cycle, it's on day 1 billing, so our annual fees have actually gone up, and we've changed the modular pricing. Our clients get it and they like it, and for us, we're getting the cash in on day 1 rather than waiting maybe 90 days for the second invoice, which is 6 months down the road to get paid. So our cash cycle has improved massively. For them, it's much easier because they know what they're going to pay year on year. We've removed all limits around transactions, around support. They've got 24 access to account managers, etc. So that model is completely different to the SME model. So I could talk a lot more, but enterprise and public sector very well aligned, SME completely different. Happy to chat to anyone further after today as well.
Is there anything you can point to that's particularly changed in the last sort of 5 years in the sense of that? Are those audiences, is the way they engage with you changed? Is the way that those sales conversations have been initiated? Has anything particularly changed over the last few years?
Quite a lot. Again, if you look at public sector, you're going from traditional 5-year contracts down to 2+1. They've changed the procurement process. They're now heavily engaged in frameworks, and in order to get on those frameworks, there's a lot more tasks. You've got things like G-Cloud, you've got DOS, you've got products and services, and these are 3 different tiered frameworks within public sector. Very difficult to get on, and you really need your accreditations and your case studies, etc. to do that. SME, of course, social media in particular has given them as a voice. You have one bad customer, and that suddenly brings your average ratings on Google, on Trustpilot, etc. right down. So again, you've got to get the right targeted customer to make sure the product is right for them. And we've had to do a lot of damage implementation, in all honesty. You get one idiot at a customer that you're working your butts off to try and make successful, regardless at all costs to us. We want to make them successful. You have one rogue employee with them that leaves a bad review, and it has a ripple effect. So you've really got to keep on top of everything. And marketing really isn't just about acquisition; it's about retention as well. So again, very different between SME and public sector, but a lot to think about.
Nick, same question. Anything that you've seen in your space, the retail sort of markets changing? So
I think in the SaaS market, there's been a massive change over the last 5 years. And if you look at it, net promoter scores for most SaaS companies have been going down. Customer expectations have been going up. prices have been generally going down for the products, and PPC or any marketing costs have generally been going up. So it's kind of like the perfect storm for most SaaS companies. And what they have to do is they have to find better ways of marketing. They have to, there's been much more of a shift to customer success, and you've seen a lot more SaaS companies implement customer success. We see that as a kind of key thing of making sure that customers are happy with us, that we look after them, we give them technical help. So it's more about looking after them. And I think 5 years ago, people weren't so bothered about the long-term journey with the customer, where I think there's been a shift generally in the market where, because it costs so much to acquire the customer now, people are much more focused on holding on to that customer for as long as possible and really looking after them. Across the SaaS board, you've seen the kind of companies like Gainsight do very well as they kind of invented the kind of customer success area. I think that's really changed. People focusing on the long term because, CAC, customer acquisition cost, has gone way past 12 months, so they have to hold on to them as long as possible. So there's been that kind of massive change.
So you can just, the customer success, to be specific, that's a team within your organisation who are responsible for delivering success for your clients, helping them. Give some examples of stuff you do.
So what they do is, obviously, when you buy a retail ERP platform, you go through an implementation, and at the end of the implementation you move from our what's called professional services team to our customer success team. And they're there to make sure, and we have technical account managers who are technical people who will help you, because when you buy a product, people leave the business or people have niggles and stuff like that. It's about making sure the customer journey is as good as it possibly can be during that initial first year period. You find that their use of the technical account managers kind of dwindles slightly after the first 6 months. They're going through those pain processes and stuff like that. But it's still important for them to have access for that, because it allows them to solve problems and stuff like that, and keeps, because for us it's about keeping them as happy as possible, using the platform, gaining the maximum amount of value from it, and that's why we have that team. And it really, since we've implemented that team, our churn is massively reduced, and we're seeing our upsell with existing customers massively go up, so it's really made a difference. And that's across the cloud. You can see many instances of cloud companies that are putting customer success teams in the benefit of them.
Is that something that you have in place, Vinnie, or?
Yeah, so we went through a process actually about 12 months ago of merging traditional project managers and account managers into one role. It's challenging for people in a consistent role, but people were brought in externally who are already familiar. It's very common in the tech scene for customer success, and we're still going through that process. We're still trying to change the ethos in the business to be, traditionally the customer wants some training, let's build them, let's wait for the invoice to get paid 30 days later, then let's go and visit them. Suddenly the customers forgot what they even wanted, and it's just a horrible journey. So again, that's something we've included in the new billing, and our team really need to focus on contacting them, reaching out to them, offering them advice, showing them new features, what our competitors do, and where we go in our events, should we meet together for coffee, and it's just trying to give them as much added value, and training is just part of that. So they now make the decision, do we need to go and visit that client on site, regardless demographically where they are in the UK, is that something that they will get value from rather than just a remote session. So yeah, customer success, we're heavily expanding as well. We've just closed another VC round, so we're hiring a lot of people, so if there are any customer success roles out there that people are aware of, then send them our way please, because we are desperate to scale up. But yeah, it's just one of the many things. It's a very, very fast moving industry, and it's just one of the things that have been happening recently.
Andy, in your world, are there particular resources, I'm thinking about sort of professional development, clearly fast-moving world, SaaS is always be at the forefront, people developing new tools and ways of doing things, everyone's being disrupted by someone. Are there any particular resources you find yourself directing your kind of mentees to in a professional development point of view?
The short answer is there is no one thing that will suit all. The approach that we would recommend to anybody seeking professional development is find out what it is that you need and then work with that. If there are specific technical skills that you use, find that technical expert that is definitely going to add value in the way that you need it to add value. The majority of the people that we work with are those individuals within a business who find it quite a lonely place to be, and they need a sounding board. They want somebody to talk to. They need a community of like-minded people to be able to back those ideas off. Vinnie, you were talking about earlier about a community that you are in, and you found it so really powerful to have people that you can open up to in a confidential but meaningful way that allows you to be able to problem solve, access expertise, get referrals, other people's contacts and networks. That's the thing that really makes the difference. The majority of programs out there that deliver a specific outcome, that will be that outcome. In organisational and individual development terms, it is absolutely, to my mind, and certainly NatWest's perspective, is around community, and it's about networks, it's about opening those contacts so that you can access the relevant expertise to grow in the way that you and your organisation needs to grow.
Nice, thank you. You mentioned there about sort of networks and connections and things. I was wondering whether, Nick, you have any examples of where you've formed strategic partnerships as part of your business life, where Brightpearl, or it could be in a previous life, where you formed strategic partnerships with other SaaS providers, other businesses, and give me any examples of where that's worked well for you before.
Yeah, I think the first thing with the strategic partnership, I always think, is it's got to be win-win for both sides. And I think people sometimes forget that. They go, well, they're giving me leads and I'm giving them a bit of commission, so therefore that's a win for them. You've really got to understand, if you want to have a strategic partnership, what both sides want. And you've got to make sure that aligns with what both of you are trying to achieve. Because so often strategic partnerships fail because one side doesn't understand what the other side wants. And you know, if I look at, you know, the discussions we've had, you know, we were looking for, this is kind of relevant, we were looking for an SEO agency, and we went out to multiple agencies. And the thing for me was to make sure we understood, that the agency understood what we wanted, but also we understood what they wanted as well. And, you know, make it a win-win partnership, because if you don't get a win-win partnership, it's not going to work. You know, and that's the key thing for me. And we looked at many agencies, and we chose you guys recently, and it was because of you understood what we wanted, we understood what you wanted, and we found a win-win relationship. And that's the key thing with any strategic partnership. And we have, you know, when we work with agencies or when we work with other software providers or other SaaS companies, the key thing I ask the teams is, what do they want, and does it align with what we want? Because if it doesn't, don't work it. And you know, we've had ones where we've looked at them and gone, what they want is not what we want, or there's not a trust level. You know, sometimes you have this thing called co-opetition, where you may be working with a slight competitor and there's not the trust level. It's like, if there's not the trust level, don't work with it, because there's going to be problems. And if there is problems, and there's going to be problems with partnerships, the key thing is to be open and honest and have that discussion with people when there's problems. And you know, I've worked in many companies where salespeople have done the wrong thing, and you know, taken deals direct or done certain things when you're working with a partner. And the thing is if you're honest and say, look, we need to sort this out, we've made a mistake, generally you find it will go a lot better than if you just hide away from it and wait until they find out. And that's been my thing. If you're open, honest, and have integrity, you'll find partnerships going much better.
To say it's a pleasure working with you, Nick, on the basis that you were honest right from the outset. So yeah, I've been nailed to the floor by clients far too many times in my day, so it was refreshing. Vinnie, talk to yourself, any example of strategic partnerships, whether at BookingLive or in a previous role, where you kind of felt you've genuinely grown as a result of a partnership that you've had? It doesn't have to be agency suppliers, it can be other people.
Yeah, and I'll just first of all echo what Nick was saying. I mean, what you guys have seen here today, the content-wise, you know, that's gold dust. You pay a lot of money, or you can waste a lot of time. We've paid a lot of money, you know, to get to where we are, and to get that knowledge embedded in Jason and the rest of the team. So yeah, what you see today, you're very fortunate, and if you are in a position where you're able to work with these guys, we've worked with a lot of agencies. I've been in this sector pretty much all my life, run an agency for 12 years. They are the best that we work with. As you can see, you know, they are techie geeks. I hope you don't, you know, take that in a bad way. That's a very good thing. Those are the guys you want on your side to get your market side. So thanks for a great presentation, by the way. To answer the question, yes, we do, and we work with the likes of Carpenter, Insight Media. There's a lot of resellers in the public sector. What we are new to, because as I said earlier, our products only launched, the SaaS products only launched in March this year. So we are new, probably, hopefully, following in the footsteps of these guys. But we are new to setting up those frameworks and resellers, and it's exactly right. It does need to work both ways. Again, public sector, you know, is one of our key strategies moving forward, is again those partnerships, not just with suppliers, but with people that you can cross-sell services with as well. So it's worked very well for us. The onboarding in particular, not only the acquisition to sell our software, into that client and into that market, which is what the partners do. But you have to onboard them as well and educating them about how it works and what the best solution for them is. For us to sort of train and hold a workshop with our client who then goes out in that kind of spider network effect to their clients is so far really, really successful.
Got a couple more questions, then we're going to open up to the floor. I'm a big believer in learning from your mistakes, so I was wondering if you could share, don't have to be really specific, but sort of share an example of something you did wrong, you feel that you could have done better, and keep it related to work and ideally to do with marketing, but yeah, just to keep it on track.
So my mistake is around not understanding the motivations of somebody else when going into business with them. So there was, I'm not going to use names or specific scenarios, however, I went into business with somebody and invested quite heavily in a particular project, and this particular individual wasn't on the same track as me, and I thought they were. So I didn't do the due diligence in terms of understanding what the partnership was all about, what it is that we were both seeking to achieve, what the long-term thing was. I was just really excited about that particular project. And long story short, we weren't aligned in the way that we operated. So actually, in terms of what we wanted from a day-to-day didn't work in the way that it should have done to be successful, and I lost a lot of money. So that was a lot of things wrapped up in that in terms of my personal learning. But yeah, that's certainly guided some of the things that I now encourage other people to think about.
You have to go through these things, I guess, don't you, to learn. Nick, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think in a previous role, I think sometimes you look, and I was running a consumer security business, and we sold our products in 1, 5 and 10 kind of batches, and I believed, you know, the way UK promotions work in retail is you can only promote for 6 weeks, and therefore it has to come off promotion and you promote another product. And I believe that if we dropped our biggest selling product was our 5-user product, I believe that if we dropped our 10-user product to the same level as our 5-user product during the promote, that when we had to take our 5-user product off, our sales would be similar. I learned that actually users are very complex, or consumers are very complex, and actually our sales fell through the floor, even though that product was the same price and the consumers were getting a better thing. And what it taught me was don't have bias when doing things. And, you know, when you do pricing, you know, we did a lot of price testing in my previous role with consumers, and what you think they're going to do and what you think might win when you're doing A/B testing quite often doesn't. So just have an open mind and do a lot of testing and do a lot of things and learn from those things. And I have this saying with the team, fail fast. Learn from those mistakes, but try things and try them, but admit when they're not working and move on and try something different.
Vinnie, anything to add?
Again, you know, these guys echo my thoughts. So, you know, you've got to be decisive, you've got to be tenacious. This is across your entire business, not just in marketing. But you know, again, just to echo what Nick was saying there, and Andy as well, in the fact that you don't know what's going to work until you try it, and that does mean you're going to spend a lot of money and you're going to waste a lot of money. So you could, on reflection, say, I was in error, I made a mistake, but how would you have known I was a mistake if you didn't try it? We've spent a lot of money on social in the B2B market. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work for us. It might work for others, but it doesn't work for us. So we've stopped that, and we're now dipping our toe again into maybe the LinkedIn advertising and the other opportunities out there. But unless you make those mistakes, you don't really know. So don't be afraid to do it. And equally, if you keep your budget relatively small, it's probably not going to hit enough of a demographic to give you the true results. One last thing is have metrics, OKRs, whatever you need to track and measure the success of these marketing opportunities that you're doing. That's so important. You've got to get those in from day one.
And to finish on a positive note, I'd love to know any examples of something that you just absolutely nailed it from initial idea, planning, execution, like, yeah.
Trying to get real.
There must be something, surely.
That was hugely successful.
Yeah. Anybody? It could be really specific, a tactic, you know, strategy for the business. It could be something idea related to digital marketing. But
so for me, there's 4 key things to success, regardless of what position you're at with a business. That's strategy, people, product, and execution. If you can get that, and probably cash is obviously the 5th thing. If you can get those 4 things right, yeah, you're probably going to be successful. So every key decision we make at board level, management level, or whatever, we always have those 4 things in mind. Is this driving the product forward? Is this driving our revenue? Is it improving our people, that culture? So those are always the 4 things we think about.
I think they're a really good point. The only other thing I'd add to that is you'll always have some people who say we can't do this. You know, you've got to be willing to not listen to certain people who say we will never do this and just push through, because you can do it and you will achieve it. And that's the one thing I've learned is, you know, you've got to have that in your mind, but just keep pushing through, because otherwise you'll get nowhere, because there'll always be people who say you can't achieve it. And you may not get all the way there, but you'll get a good percentage there if you push towards it.
So one of the success stories that we like to shout about is, does anybody know Brian Allen from Rovco? Yeah, so ROV, underwater recording, and he's disrupting they are disrupting the industry, the oil and gas industry at the moment with 3D digital imaging. He came into the Entrepreneur Accelerator with just going to be a service provider. So he was going to be the guy who was the operator on the surface operating ROVs. And he says, if you want to be disruptive, it's not going to work. Okay, you'll just be another service provider in a very big industry. So essentially, we challenged him quite hard into his thinking. Is he going down the right line? So how far do you persist to the point where you actually have to think differently about what it is that you're doing? So we challenged him quite hard, and he basically said, we said, if you want to carry on down this, that's fine, okay, but you'll never have the business that you, or the lifestyle that you are dreaming of. So this is big organisational and personal thinking here. He came back a couple of weeks later and said, well, I've got this thing that I've been playing with in the back of my mind for a little while, and wondered if this might be interesting. Cool. And he's built his business now on the back of some really disruptive 3D imaging technology that is completely remote. That is going to massively disrupt the way that the whole of the oil and gas industry looks after their underwater assets. And he went from basically a man with an idea, and I think they're looking at their Series B round sometime next year, going for sort of tens of millions of pounds of investment, and that's in the last 2.5 years. So I think the point from there is, don't be afraid to challenge your thinking or the thinking of those people who are around you. Is what it is that you're doing the best way to achieve your overall goal? So just to echo something that these guys have said in terms of the things to focus on, for me it is, what's the vision, what's the strategy and the plan to achieve that vision, what's the infrastructure that you need to be able to deliver it, so who's actually going to deliver it, people and cash. And then it's just implementation, execution, every time. Vision, strategy, people, cash, implementation. Go for it.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. So that's all my questions. Lots of you here. Wondering if anyone's got any questions for the panel. We've got another sort of 5 minutes, so a few questions. Lady back there. You're right, just to shout out. Should be able to hear you.
You mentioned that social didn't work for B2B marketing. Are there any other strategies that you found are really good for B2B specifically?
So just to clear, if everyone hears, B2B strategies for social media marketing for B2B.
Not just social media, just in general marketing for business to business.
Yeah, sorry to keep plugging the marketing team, but they're the guys to speak with. So drop us an email after, we can have a conversation and go through more detail. There's a lot that we do, a lot of activity. Social hasn't worked for us, but I'm not saying it doesn't work for anyone else. The resellers in particular has worked, and that's across the business, not just acquisition. We've invested now in the customer success team, so we're focusing more on retention and getting that lifetime value up, and making sure that the reputation of the business is vitally important, especially now we've launched the SaaS product under the same brand. It's a very sort of nerve-wracking thing to think that potentially we've got hundreds of customers out there that we don't know who they are, we don't know where they are, we don't know what they're doing with the product, and a few bad reviews can have a ripple effect. So yeah, we're trialing a few different things. Just anything in particular with B2B that you can remind me about? Okay, yeah, so there's a lot of tools. What's the one in particular that I know Phil mentioned some as well? The one that in particular that generates the leads from visitors on the site? No. I haven't answered your question very well. Let's have a chat after, and we'll arrange a conversation if that's okay.
Cool. Anyone else? Oh, sorry, yeah, down here.
You mentioned earlier on about hyper-personalisation marketing. Could you give me some example of use cases of how that's working?
So what we're doing is, as I said, we had 10,000 ideal customers in the US. And what we're doing is when anybody from one of those companies goes onto LinkedIn or other sites, they're being served an ad. It's not perfect because we can't, we don't have all the data on those companies, but it is bringing us, and I went through it earlier, it is bringing us MQLs and SQLs from that personalization. That's not because that's more, I'd say, on the edge of account-based marketing rather than hyper-personalization, because hyper-personalization is, as you said earlier, walking past Bristol Temple Meads and then giving you an offer on a train, or walking past a Costa Coffee and giving you that. That hyper-personalization is very B2C rather than B2B. It's a little bit more tricky. So I think in B2B SaaS, it's more account-based marketing and just marketing directly to the accounts that you're targeting or your customers you're targeting. That's how we're doing it. It's not perfect.
Thank you. Anyone else? Over here? Yeah, lady at the front there. So how much value should you give away before you start charging? Okay.
I don't think you should give them, because people value what they pay for. So we charge from the first day they take our product. You have to, because otherwise. But there is some certain products where giving them an evaluation for a short period does actually help bring them over the line. So certainly in our customer success teams, when we're upselling, we may give them a certain amount for free to get them to take that product, because they've already got, for instance, modules of Brightpearl, and we may give them another module to test before that. There's no right or wrong answer, but the longer they have, you've got to give them a compelling event to move them off it, because if you give them 30 days or 60 days, you've got to make sure that they're going to get some value from it, that they see value in their product during that period, or there is something, because if they don't use it, then you're giving them 30 days for nothing.
I'd like to say, for me, the traditional freemium models are dead. You limit by features, you limit by trying, you limit by user licenses. That's just restricting and pissing off the customer. That's not what you want to do. Be very clear about your pricing, regardless of SaaS or enterprise, from day one. And don't undervalue your product, and be proud of what it is. If you're new to the market, you need to build up some case studies, and you need to offer them an incentive to do so, then do that, but don't undervalue, because we've actually just gone through a pricing change / pricing increase for the first time in 7 years, and it's not very well received, and our customers are like, we can see why you're doing it, we're going to pay it, but we're pretty pissed off we're now paying such a big jump. It would have been better to have implemented or done something different over the years. We've had to do it because we, as I said earlier, removed all of these limitations that were in the software, but I think stick to your price and don't undervalue. Be very, very careful about, if you do go a freemium route, which of those models you take.
For me, it would be all of those things, setting really clear expectations of what it is that people are signing up to. So if you're if the going through that purchase process, going through that engagement process, then yeah, if you make it really clear that this is the route that we're taking you down to the point where we're going to ask you for money, or we're going to ask you for money now and then we're going to take you down this route, and then that's supporting them through that journey, then people are more than happy to engage, or not, and then they're not your customer anyway.
Thank you. Couple more questions. Have we got a couple more? Any more hand? Lady at the back there? Cool.
It was less of a question really. I'm in the B2B space as well, and it's really difficult. And so I think some of the stuff that you did earlier, where you were using several different tools to, so for example, our customer base is very varied, and finding an ideal customer profile is very difficult, so then you spread your money very widely, very thinly, and it's really difficult. But understanding what they're reading, where they're reading it, it's very difficult these days. It's a broad customer base, so
Yeah, and if I can add to that, that echoes a couple of thoughts I was having earlier in terms of what you were saying, guys, in terms of digital marketing, SaaS marketing, whatever it is absolutely applicable to some people. Social media doesn't work for you. Digital marketing might not work for some digital agencies. There are a number of digital agencies that I've worked with that face-to-face networking and word of mouth is by far the most effective way that they do business. Okay, so understand your customer, and B2B and B2C is a categorization. For me, business is P2P. It's person to person, so the more you can identify who that individual is, the hyper-personalization of, and really focusing on who your customer is, the better you're going to be able to communicate with them in a meaningful way such that they will engage with the strategies that you do use. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Thank you. I think we'll, sorry, go on. Okay, one more question. Two more, then we'll close up.
It's a question from Nick. So Nick was interested to know if you have always ran the medic approach to your sales, because that's quite a, not convoluted, but it is a reasonably complex approach, or if you've sort of transitioned to that, and then also if you've managed to automate any of that process to make it more efficient.
So you can run a cut down medic. We run a cut down medic because obviously the full is very complex, but we run a cut down that we've customized to us, because I think you've got to customize it to your needs, because not everything. Because if you look at the full medic, it's for large enterprise, large transactions with multiple buyers, multiple things, a lot of politics and stuff like that. So we've cut it down to our needs, and we've taken the steps that we need. Have we made it automated? It's in Salesforce. The sales team would say it's not automated because they have to fill it out. I believe it's as automated as it's ever going to get, because you need to fill it out, and the reason it's really important to have something like that is as you bring new people on and you try and scale, having that kind of discipline will help you scale much better with sales. But I agree with you. We don't have the full magic.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then gentleman at the front.
It wasn't so much a question. I think it was just just want to share what we've done. So we spend a lot of time looking at what our competitors do. That's quite exhaustive. Because if you're in the same space, they've got ideas. And we compete with multi-million plus businesses. We're an online survey platform. People survey monthly in Quantrix, huge budgets. So one of the things that we did from an SEO point of view, creating pages, so alternative to SurveyMonkey, alternative to Quantrix, we rank just below their site on organic searches. Great way to get out there, but just to see what your competitors are doing. So,
Nice one. Well, I just wanted to close by, thank you lot for coming. Really good to see everyone here. As I said, this is part of a wider Bristol Tech Festival, so please do check out all the other events. Thanks to our panellists, Andy, Nick and Vinnie. Thanks to Engine Shed for hosting us. And if you want to get in touch, we'll send the slides, so you'll have contact details. And thank you very much.